close can I get this thing?
I need to go a little further back that way. A little more. But keep it rotated this way. No, elsewhere.
Okay.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
Tell me how close we can get this without messing up the shot.
If you want, it would be better if we just put it on the ground right there.
Really? Okay.
And
Yeah. Okay.
Because I gotta watch the light shot really too as well. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is good. Okay.
Cool.
I'm ready.
Thank you for doing this.
It's my pleasure.
Appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
great to be out in this interesting location. Yeah, so pretty much the way this works is I have the specific list of questions,
Sure.
and I never really get to them because I just want to chat with you about what your life is like
Yeah.
at this age. So we'll go back to these if need be, but overall, just want to hear how things are going at age 29
Yeah.
and what your life is like and what's going on.
So, 29 has been a year with possibly the most change I've ever had in my life, but change that I've controlled. I've had a lot of like ups and downs in my life that has kind of been out of my hands. We moved around a lot as a kid. But I, made the choice to separate from my husband. I felt like it was the healthiest and safest thing to do for the kids and myself. And I also, now find myself in this like coming into 30, which is like obviously a new chapter. You're entering your 30s, but for me it like really is this huge new chapter of now being a single mom and going back to school and really getting a chance to figure out who I am, because I didn't really have that chance in my 20s. I was being a mom in my 20s, which I love. I wouldn't change it for the world, but I didn't have that opportunity. So I'm like relearning who I am and figuring out what I like and what I want to do, and that's really cool. I'm excited about it. I have so many friends who are like, oh, I'm about to be 30. It's, the end of the world. And for me, I'm so excited to like be leaving this last year of 29 and starting something new and fresh, and for me and for my kids.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So instead of end of the world, it's more start of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I totally remember that that feeling at age 29. It's kind of a hot spot year.
Yeah.
Where you just start, kind of like we're on the 39 now.
Yeah.
Looking at 40. 29 at 30 is kind of just as intense.
Yeah.
And thinking about what should I have accomplished by now?
Right.
Where am I supposed to be? And yeah, it does have this little bit of an end of the world feeling, but it's cool that you're have a completely optimistic take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does it feel to you? Like, you've hit other milestone ages. Like, how does this age feel if you were describing to someone even younger than you? This is what 29 feels like.
29 to me feels like the first real age where I felt like an adult, maybe. I felt like I was able to see the world through kind of more mature eyes and not this, like, still kind of a kid. It's the first time I've been able to look back and be like, wow, I made some really dumb decisions, but they were probably made because I was so young and, my frontal lobe wasn't developed and closed, and I thought that I was making adult decisions, but I really wasn't. So I feel like an adult, which is kind of weird to say because at the same time, I also don't feel any older than I ever have felt in my life. I still kind of, feel like a kid sometimes too, but I'm able to think kind of outside myself more and not really just focus on like this tiny little here and now. I'm able to kind of see and think and feel a little bit broader and take myself out of every situation and kind of think about the bigger picture.
Gotcha. So different than just what you're going through, but
Yeah.
more broadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you talked about making that decision to move on from your marriage.
Yeah.
Right. And made me think of a really interesting thing that came up in the interview with age 35 was getting to this point of developing the strength to let go.
Yes.
Versus what we grow up with is the strength to hold on
Yeah.
and to never give up.
Completely.
Does that resonate with you?
Completely. I, for so long, thought that and felt that holding on was what I needed to do in order to like prove that I was being strong. And if I just held on a little longer, things would change or get better or come together. There would be this like aha moment of, oh yeah, we really can work through whatever it is, or we can be together and really love each other and make it work. And that's just not what being strong is. Being strong is being able to like take a second to breathe and to feel. So much of like decisions I feel like are made in our head, but if we feel how it's affecting our bodies, then it's so much more authentic. And so to make this decision to let go, I like have felt this like opening and this strengthening of my core and who I am, and allowing myself to just kind of be and to be myself and to be okay with this letting go, and that it's not a failure and it's not, I haven't disgraced anybody and I haven't like let anybody down, because that is such a huge part of it too, of like, oh my gosh, like I'm letting everybody down by not like just sticking it out and dealing. Because I think it's so important to try and really find what makes you happy, and if that means letting go of what you thought was your life was supposed to be or going to be, it's so scary, but it's so freeing too, to have that just like that shedding of something, that coming out of your cocoon of what life was supposed to or going to or is, and then you're like, no, it can be different. You can start again. You can continue on a different path. It doesn't have to be just one. You can branch off and find other things, and that's okay. And it's not, I don't feel anymore like I've let anybody down, or that I've made a mistake, or that I did the wrong thing by getting married. It was what felt right at the time.
Yep.
But again, I think had I really felt in my body instead of just like your heart and your head, if you just really feel your whole body, I probably would have known that at least more time was needed, if not to really just let it go.
Yeah.
Altogether.
There's so much running through my head that's resonating with what you're saying. One was just, I just sent an email to Ahmed at like 2 a.m. last night talking about this feeling of freedom that comes from letting go of the expectations, and specifically this myth of stability, or the search for stability, because I started picking up on this pattern through all these interviews of it was age 20, talking about trying to figure things out and looking for stability. And age 24, talking about being in this phase where she's trying to figure things out and find stability. And then 35 was talking about how she's got all these unstable parts of her life and she's searching for stability. And then we got to the age 33 interview, and he said, I'm married, I have a kid, I have a house, I have 2 cars, and it's like hits all the check boxes of stability, but he still doesn't actually feel that. So it's like, it's kind of this myth that we chase,
Right.
but whatever's going on doesn't necessarily equate to stability.
No, not at all. Yeah, there was no... I probably felt less stable once I got married. There was all of a sudden this pressure of like, God, now I'm married, and that means that like this has to happen. Like now there's this whole like pressure around that, and I felt very fragmented and like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know anything. Like I have no idea. Why did I do this? I have no clue.
But on the other side of it, going into it, it looks like
that. Right, it's gonna fix everything. It's everything's gonna come into place. Like, oh, I'm gonna get married, and then my daughter and I are gonna have the same last name, and it's gonna be like that's what it's gonna. It's perfect. Everything is gonna be great. And as
Mommy, I want to go inside.
you can go inside, that's
You want to tell us who this guy is real
This is
quick?
Weston. This is my son, Weston.
Hi, Weston. You ready to go inside?
Do you want Malia to bring you in? Yeah? You
Thanks
may.
for hanging out with us for a little bit. She's a good big sister.
She's really good. Yeah, there's 5 years between them, so that age difference helps.
It's broken.
But yeah, so even as like much as I thought that getting married was like the answer to everything and it was gonna make everything solid and strong, it didn't at all. And I feel much more stable in my decision to leave the marriage, and I feel much more stable after leaving than I ever did before or during. And even though life is incredibly crazy right now, I think because I'm so much happier, I don't feel as like lost and all over the place and searching anymore.
Then the other thing you said, which really resonated, was this idea of kind of getting out of your head and into your feelings.
Yeah.
And that was like the core message of this amazing 7-day workshop that I did a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, where it was like this constant message of get out of your head and into your feelings.
Yeah.
And that changed things for me a lot. Like
Yeah.
I made a lot of shifts in my life, and it actually led to this project, to the idea for doing this, and realizing that what I'm feeling is this shift toward a new phase in age 40, and what do I need to do to feel ready for that and to like cope with those feelings and not just avoid them.
Yeah.
And so this is like just a total head-on approach to 40 of, instead of avoiding it, like just literally going to 40 different people at least and talking about what this experience is like for me and what I've been through and what I want to go through. So yeah, you're definitely you're hitting on some things that I've definitely experienced.
Yeah.
So tell me more about like just all the different things going on in your life. With you talked about school.
Yeah.
You got kids. You got the new house. Start with the house. Like when I asked you, you know, what's a meaningful spot to do this interview, and you put some thought into it, and this was the answer. Tell me why.
I think for me, I wanted something that, or wanted to be in a place that felt like home. And this is the first place in North Carolina that has felt like home to me. I grew up in a tiny, tiny, tiny little town in Bridgewater, Connecticut. There's, more cows than people, and that I loved that. We lived in a house that my dad built. It was completely off the grid, so we grew up, in a completely solar powered home, and that is home to me. So if I had, everything, we would have flown up there and done the interview there, because that was home.
Like in a meditation, that's your happy place.
Yes, exactly. That we go back there every summer. That's my happy place for sure. But the house when we moved to North Carolina, we lived in a little house in Carborough. That never really felt like home. The house my parents live in now, as much as I love it, it never really felt like home. The first house I lived in with my kid's father in closer to downtown Chapel Hill never really felt like home. But this feels like home. And I think that's because it's the first place that it's mine by myself. It's not like me living with other people. My husband has lived here, but this is still mine. This is my home, and this is a place. My dad and I are actually getting ready to put an addition on together. He's a builder, so
Cool.
we're going to do that together, and just really create a place that I will and do love raising my kids in, and I love coming home here, and it's like the perfect mix for me. I could never live like in a neighborhood where there's houses right next to each other. I need space. I need room to breathe. I need to not be able to see people all the time. Yeah. But we're still 10 minutes from downtown Chapel Hill and 20 minutes from Durham, and I love this location. I love this area. So yeah, this is home to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this is another great theme of this project. So you knew Henry Walker, of
Yes.
course, from Friend School, and he wrote a poem about this project, and it was all about how the way to understand yourself inside is to go outside of yourself and understand others on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people I talk to, the more I'm understanding my own self, and you're hitting on another really key theme of just the search for home.
Yeah.
And feeling at home, and this project got me to move back here to Durham. I was living in Orlando, and I kept coming back up here to figure this thing out, and I realized this is home. This is where my longest friends are, my parents, my other family members, and that's such, aside for the physical part, it's that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And let's see, what other stuff is going on? School. Tell me about school life.
Yeah,
School
so
and work.
I've been a nanny, a full-time nanny, which has been great, but basically the whole time my kids have been alive. It has allowed me to be with them, but also be able to provide for them. But I'm kind of at a place where I'm just done raising other people's kids.
Yeah.
I would much prefer to just focus only on raising mine. And I've always wanted to work with people in some way, some sort of help or healing or something in that realm. So I've thought a lot about what makes sense for me financially and just time-wise. So my plan that I've come up with is to get my CNA to be a nursing assistant.
Cool.
So that I can work as a nursing assistant while I do 2 years at Durham Tech towards their LPN program, and then transfer to UNC or another surrounding four-year university to get an RN. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'll start the CNA training in the fall once the kids are back in school and settled. I've taken the summer off mostly from work to be with them, which has been really nice to have time to spend as just the three of us. We've gone back up to Connecticut, where I grew up, and spent a couple weeks up there, and got to go into the city and see old friends who live there. Which friends for me feel a lot like home. So that's always nice to go back and meet up with people who I've known for, more than half my life, and we don't see each other very often, but when we do, it's coming home. It's, right back to where we left off. And then we're traveling up to Maine next week to my dad's family's summer house on a lake on an island in Maine.
Cool.
Which is another place that is very near and dear to my heart. It's very, you're on an island, so there's not a lot to do, which is so perfect because you spend your day hiking or swimming or boating or connecting with people or just reading a book. So I'm really excited to spend a week up there before we come back and then start school again, and school for them and school for me, and kind of.
So when did you turn 29?
November.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be 30 November 29th.
So you talk about these experiences coming up. What's an experience or memory of 29 so far, or a story that you think you'll hold on to for a long time?
So, two things actually. No, that's not true. One was 28, so we'll leave that. 29, the one thing I did when I was 29, I went on a trip with my best friend. We went to a wedding in Vegas of a mutual friend of ours, and it was the first time that I had done anything like that for myself, gone on a trip, just me or with a friend, ever. So it was amazing, and it was the first time that I started to remember who I was, because so much of my identity is being a mom. And so my kids stayed with my parents, and it was, we were gone 48 hours or something, but it was the first time that I was like, oh, I can have fun, and I am still young, and I don't have to, plan every little thing and make sure that the kids are in bed and this, and it was the first time that I just got to be myself, without feeling guilty that I was, not with my kids, or not, giving them 100% of my attention. Because I struggle a lot with taking any time for myself at all. I feel guilty when I do, but it's something that in the age of 29 I have learned is very important. I also, that is nothing, I started seeing a new therapist who I love. She's amazing, and she is who really brought me to realize how much of what we experience and go through is in feeling and in our bodies instead of just in our heads. So I feel like I've done the most work on myself in 29. I've done the most experiencing of who I am in 29, which is pretty cool.
Cool. So you talk about discovering who you are and connecting to yourself for the first time. So who are you? How would you describe this new version of yourself?
I think that I have realized that I'm pretty sarcastic. I really enjoy just kind of going with the flow. I always thought that I had to schedule everything, because otherwise I would get anxious. But that's really not what it is. That was so much of the environment that I was in that I felt like I needed this schedule to kind of maintain. But I really do just kind of like going with the flow, and I love trying new things. I've realized how much I love just being outside in nature so much more. I grew up doing that, but I lost all of that. I forgot all of that. So, going for hikes or swimming, and I am learning that I really enjoy spending some time alone. I'm learning to like be with myself, which is really cool. I love having a small group of friends. I used to feel like I needed this like big kind of like safety net of people and friends, but I really enjoy connecting on a deeper level with people and really getting to know somebody, and so that has kind of like shrunk my friend group down, which is nice because I know that these are people that I can rely on and be there, and they'll be there for me.
So what's cool here is that what you're saying about these closer friends, like everything, the way you're describing this relationship with these closer friends is exactly like how you would describe the relationship with yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting to know yourself on a deeper level.
Yeah.
You're learning you can rely on yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's a full-time relationship, right?
It
with
is.
yourself.
Yeah. It is, for
That's cool.
sure.
Is there a core question that you find yourself asking at this age, or that you should ask yourself at this age?
For me, the work that I've been doing in therapy is, am I holding boundaries that feel safe? And I think for a long time I thought that in order to feel happy and to feel maybe needed and secure, I needed to say yes all the time to everything and to everybody, because I had this fear of not being important or being forgotten if I didn't. And I've learned, and I continuously have to ask myself, am I holding a boundary? Because I have discovered I feel so much more of all of those things that I wanted to feel if I hold this boundary of, you know, I can't do that right now because I don't have the time, or I don't have the energy, or I just don't want to. And I think that, yeah, for me, am I holding boundaries that make me feel safe or true to who I am, or strong?
Yeah, I totally get you.
Yeah.
And I think another one that you've gone through that I have definitely been going through is just the simple question of who am I?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's okay
Cool.
to not know who you are at this
Right.
age. I think so many people of, you know, in their 20s are like, oh, I have to figure out who I am. And it's who, you know, if you don't know who you are, that's fine. Take the time to figure that out.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
there's
that's a continual process.
For
too.
sure. I don't think you ever completely have to find that. I mean, everybody goes through different chapters and stages and growing periods, and maybe, you know, time of being more secluded or in a state of maybe not necessarily depression for everybody, but just this like more inward time, and that's fine too. Like you don't have to know.
Yeah.
You don't.
It's almost more important to be comfortable
Yeah.
not knowing
Yes.
than to figure out the answers. To everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What would you say your biggest fears are at this age?
Mommy,
Yes, love?
okay.
Yeah. You need what, sweetheart? Do you want to bring my phone inside with you? Where is it? I don't know. Yeah, here, Malia, can you come get it, lovey?
Okay.
There you go. Malia has a phone, Angel. I'll pop you over. 1, 2, 3, jump.
Good one.
I think my biggest fear. I used to think my biggest fear was that I'm making a mistake in leaving my marriage, that I'm somehow, fucking up my kids. But that's not it. That's kind of like the answer that I think people want to hear. I think my biggest fear is that I'll end up alone because I'm starting over at 30, So that's also really part of learning to be okay with being by myself, which is hard and scary, but it's also very freeing.
Yeah, it's funny how those two things can coexist, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
freeing and scary.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
And I totally get what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the same boat going into 40. So, I mean, you're 10 years ahead. So, you got room to work with.
Yeah.
And honestly, the more people I talk to, the more I realize there's no deadline.
Yeah,
no time.
not
I mean,
at all.
Yeah. There's no script. Maybe there is a perceived script out there, but there's no script, and when you let go of that, it is very freeing.
Yes.
And it is scary at the same time.
So yeah. But it's good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I appreciate you opening up about that.
Yeah.
What would you say? Okay, so when you feel this fear, and we all have those moments when it weighs down on you, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you turn to get through it?
My best friend, really.
Yeah.
She is not afraid to kind of give me a wake-up call of enough. You'll find someone or you won't, and either way you'll be fine. And I just think about also everything that I have around me that I enjoy so much, because I'm so lucky to have my parents right up the road. My dad and I play music together all the time, which is
Cool.
I love it. It's one of the things that I came back to recently, which has been amazing, because I kind of lost that for a while. I really did. I completely lost myself and everything that I loved doing. And I have my younger sister close, which is so nice. She and I grew up pretty close in a lot of ways. We have the same interest in so we spent our childhood riding horses every free second we had, but kind of grew apart as we got older, and so we've come back together, which is really nice. So I have all of these other really important relationships to me that I lost because I was in a romantic relationship with somebody. And so I think about I would never want to do that again, and never want to lose myself or people around me who mean so much to me. So if I end up alone, then I end up alone, and that's okay, because I have other things and people that I love.
Yeah. So in reality, you'll never end up technically alone.
Yeah.
Because you've got these other people around you and then you've got yourself.
Yes.
Like that's a huge factor.
Yeah.
To alleviate
That's true.
loneliness, I think.
That's very true.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go.
Did this feeling of being alone, I mean, amplify at this age? And what's the trigger? I mean, is it the separation, or is it? I'm just really interested in the trigger. Is it this
Yeah.
point in your life, or what is it?
I think maybe it's a couple things. I think it's seeing so many of my friends start this new chapter of marriage or life partnership with someone as I'm leaving that. And then it's also seeing a very dear family friend who was like an uncle. He passed away of ALS. And so seeing his wife now, she had this whole beautiful journey with him, and it ended not by choice. And so something about her now being alone, and I don't know exactly how it connects to me, but it somehow it does. I just feel that it does in some way. So it's those two things. It's seeing all of so many of my friends starting this path of marriage, or living or being with someone, choosing to spend their life with someone as I'm choosing not to. So I don't think it's necessarily my age. I think it's, what I'm seeing around me.
It sounds like you, in some ways, you're older than your age. Is that what you're feeling?
Yeah, maybe. I think I've always felt like that. I've always, been praised for being mature for my age, or, yeah. That was a lot of my childhood, being praised for acting older than I was.
Sounds a little bit like a blessing and a curse, like,
Yeah.
because a lot of the stuff you're talking about now is like tapping into being a kid.
Yeah.
And you talk about going on a fun road trip, or
Yeah.
playing music,
Yeah.
or even
Yeah.
more just, you play house as a kid, and like you have this house
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
a lot of my work that I'm doing with my therapist is kind of giving myself a childhood again.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of ways, I had a really amazing childhood, and in a lot of ways, it wasn't. So kind of creating for myself, and also for my kids now that that I'm here, like what that would have been like, and allowing myself to, remember that I can just go have fun and go on a trip, or stay out late, and who cares if you have to wake up early next morning, like you'll get through, it'll be okay. Like, go and play, leave the dirty dishes in the sink, let's go outside for a walk, or go play, or go do something, which is really nice to do.
Cool. I could see the joy that you're feeling from it. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me about your CFS experience.
I only had 2 years at CFS. I was there my junior and senior year of high school. And I wish I had more time there as a student. I loved it. I went to a new school for 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade.
Wow.
So that was like a lot. I don't really have any close friends from that time that have lasted. There's a few from friend school, and that's really the only place that going in as a new student I felt welcomed, which was, you know, a breath of fresh air, because every other new school that I had gone to, I was the new kid and was only there for a year, so I was always the new kid. I never really felt like I had a place. But I loved friend school. And I loved the teachers, and I loved playing basketball for them. I coached them, the high school girls, for 5 or 6 years after,
Cool.
which I loved. That was such a cool experience. And then my daughter went to kindergarten at the Chapel Hill Early School, and then first grade, and then, you know, I wish in a perfect world I would have the money to send both my kids, and I wish that I did, but I'm really glad that Malia got those 2 years there to experience that, because I think that that's it's just such a I kind of think of it as like a bowl. Friend school to me, like, it's, or maybe, I don't know, something maybe more like a platter. Like, it's there to support you, but you can easily climb out and experience what's else, but you're also always welcome back. So maybe down the road my kids will get to go again, or, you know, we still always go to the MLK celebrations, and I drive by it sometimes. I'm like, oh, I miss being there, but I love the family that it creates. Like, I don't feel awkward with you. We've never met, but I don't feel awkward. Like, oh, friend school, like, that's perfect. We're good. You know, there's that connection of, yeah, that's fine. We're here. It's safe. It's real. I feel like a lot of times, at least for me, when I've gone back, specifically kind of up north, which is where I changed schools a lot, I'll see people who I was in school with, and like, oh, hey, it's so nice to see you again. Like, how are you doing? And it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like they really care. But friend school people always feel like they really care, which I think is very needed in this world we live in.
Yeah, the friend school bond is amazing.
It is.
And I thought it was going to be a big struggle to find alumni to participate in this project.
Yeah.
And even, like you're talking about, to connect and to get them to open up, but it's been just seamless. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, we've never met, but of course I'd love to participate and
Yeah.
love to open up and share my whole life, even though we may have never met before.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of lifers and longtime friend schoolers in this project. So it's kind of cool that you have this perspective as someone who, you went through all but 2 of your
Yeah.
years of schooling outside of friend school. So what was that like, making that shift?
I remember one of my first days at friend school, something happened with like watermelon being thrown or something like that, and it got on a girl who was sitting next to me. It got on her white shirt, and another, I don't remember who it was, someone else offered to like help her, and then was talking about like going out and doing something afterwards, and I was like, huh, they look really different. Like, they look like they're pretty far apart in age. Like, that's weird, because in the schools that I had been in, you don't associate with people outside of your grade. And so I remember asking, like, oh, like, are you a freshman or whatever it was? She was like, oh, no, I'm a senior, but this is a freshman. But like, I was like, oh, but they're friends. Like, that's so cool. I wish that I had had that all along. And so that memory has always really stuck with me of like, there was no age boundary. There was no like judgment on you if you were friends with people older or younger than you. So that in terms of like the social part, that was really cool for me, that there wasn't this like pressure to not talk to anybody. The school that I had come from, there was in the middle of the hallway in the high school was the senior commons, and you had to walk past it to get to every single class, and it always felt like they were just judging you so much. Like all of the seniors would be sitting there. Here I'm like a little freshman, like, or sophomore, whatever. It was like, I don't know what I'm like. This is so scary. I don't want to have to walk past them. But there was never any of that at Friends School, and I loved. Feeling like the teachers cared. I loved not having grades and like crazy testing because I'm a horrible test taker. So that was really cool to have this like, oh, my teachers actually care about me. They enjoy what they're teaching. They're choosing to be at this school and to teach at this school and to teach these classes that are maybe not, you know, perfectly mainstream, which is awesome. I loved the advisee groups. That was really, I think, important for me because I tend to be a little shy. I don't like to. Can you go let Hudson out, Malia? He's just gonna whine. Thank you. I don't like to really just go up and talk to anybody or go sit down with people at lunch. So to have the advisee groups and to have people, not really forced friends, but like people that you were already talking to and getting to know outside of school too, you know, on advisee outings and all this, that was really cool.
Cool. Yeah, I started in 7th grade, and you talk about just the openness of who becomes friends with who.
Yeah.
After my first days at school, my mom asked, have you made any friends? And the first person I talked about was my advisor, Colleen. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
This is your teacher.
Yeah.
And then the first friends I made were 2 years younger because I was going in as a new student in the middle school, and they were coming in their first year as it, and so, and that was like a big thing back then, like you're friends with your teacher and kids that are 2 years younger, like it was a weird thing. So it totally can resonate with that.
Yeah.
So how do you think CFS affects you today and shapes who you are?
I think a big part of me not feeling bad about the fact that I'm not on this, like, you know, career path that I thought I was going to be on, and that I'm wanting to do something different and start again, and that's okay. A lot of that comes from Friends School.
Yeah. What did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
I always thought I was going to be a vet until I learned that you have to put animals down, and then that was not gonna, I wasn't gonna be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I always knew I wanted to help people in some way, but I didn't really know what that was gonna look like or what that meant.
That was great for the camera too. That was awesome.
So yeah, other than a vet, I never really knew what I wanted to do, but nursing feels right. I'm like, oh yeah, this seems like something I'm really actually interested in and excited about and want to do. Can you not chew everything? Is that a possibility? Thank you. So yeah, I'm really excited to